in our reach. Fight with me. Fight with me. Fight for what's right for our country. Fight for the ideals and character of a free people. Fight for our children's future. Fight for justice and opportunity for all. Stand up to defend our country from its enemies. Stand up for each other, for beautiful, blessed, bountiful America. Stand up, stand up, stand up and fight. Nothing is inevitable here. We're Americans, and we never give up. We never quit. We never hide from history. We make history. Thank you, and God bless you, and God bless America.
McCain, in an address lasting the better part of an hour, starts out on a path that was workmanlike, serious, methodical, programmatic, laying out differences between himself and his opponents on a number of scores, talking about issues of reform, pointing to his vice presidential selection as someone who can help in that cause, speaking of his fights to oppose corruption, talking about keeping taxes low, helping businesses, speaking of education as a civil rights issue of this century, saying that Senator Obama wants schools to answer to unions and bureaucracies. I want schools to answer to parents and students, and when I'm president, they will. Spoke of energy at some length, of foreign policy, the threats we face in the world. I will draw, he said, on all my experience with the world and its leaders, and all the tools at our disposal, diplomatic, economic, military, and the power of our ideals to build the foundations for a stable and enduring peace. He talked about bipartisanship, something which he has attempted and been involved in many times in his life, and then it suddenly turned very personal and very different. He told his story of his experience as a prisoner of war in North Vietnam in a way that perhaps he had not told it in a form of anything like this size before. He spoke of how his country had saved him and changed him from a selfish flyboy, as he put it, no, though not in those words, to someone who had fallen in love with his country. My country saved me, he said. My country saved me, and I cannot forget it, and I will fight for her as long as I draw breath, so help me God. And an audience which had seemed at times in its desire to applaud him, its desire to hear something raucous and perhaps partisan and rambunctious from McCain, which had interrupted him, it seems at times it seemed to interrupt his rhythm and interrupt the flow of what he was saying, suddenly began to cheer him wildly as he stood, as he said, ran through a litany of things which he said were worth fighting for. Stand up, he said finally, stand up and fight. Nothing is inevitable here. We're Americans. We never give up. We never quit. We never hide from history. We make history. And now he continues to bask in the applause of this crowd as he and his wife and his running mate and her husband stand on the stage, that enormous American flag, which has been such a fixture in this convention hall most of the week, waving behind them. And the confetti has begun to fall from the ceiling, and there is always a little bit of apprehension ever since the convention of the Democrats in 1980 about whether the balloon drop will work. And we presume it will be tried soon. They're all in their big nets high above the convention hall as other members of the McCain family come out on the stage to join Cindy and John McCain and Sarah Palin and her husband. And pretty soon we'll have the familiar family crowd scene on the convention platform. There you see Roberta McCain at stage left entering, and here come the balloons. The balloon drop, with relief, I'm sure, of convention organizers, seems to be working just fine.